So we should be recording now. All right. Well, thank you all for joining me today for this Lunch and Learn. And my name is Lisa Klein, and I am over here at the Gwinnett County Extension Ag and Natural Resources Department, part of the team. And so we're going to start shaking it up a little bit. If I take a second, I have to admit people in here as I'm talking. So we're going to start shaking it up, having a few different things for presentations and trying to promote some of the really neat extension programs that are out there. And I like this one. I have this beautiful sign in my own yard, and I'm sure a lot of you folks who are here probably qualify already and can get this awesome sign for your garden as well. So I'm here to help promote this program and kind of just get awareness up so that you can also get that out to your friends and family and maybe let other people know about this really cool program. All right, so let's start. And so the Georgia Green Landscape, sorry, when you're trying to moderate and talk at the same time, sometimes pop-up messages happen. But the Georgia Green Landscape Stewards program was started several years ago down in Camden County by Jessica Warren. And lots of folks have probably heard about this, I hope. If you have not, that's okay too. I'm here to kind of share it and hopefully get the word out. And it's a good program, and it provides educational resources that can help teach all Georgians. And honestly, even if you're not in Georgia, that's okay too. You can learn about it. You know, if you want the sign, that's fine, even if you're not in Georgia, but we just want folks to kind of understand better and learn about helping to protect natural resources, increase biodiversity, conserving soil and water, and providing great habitat in your yard for wildlife and pollinators. And then, of course, improving public and environmental health in your yard. This can be challenging in a suburban or urban type area like where we are right now, but it can totally be done. You can make your yard your own little personal oasis. So this program is meant to be, you know, something that can be done both as a, I guess, self-taught type program, as well as a guided program. So this is just an informational session, and I'm just here to kind of tell you about it. So I'm not going to actually share any of the PowerPoints or the videos. You have the option of going and watching the videos on the website, and I'll provide the website here shortly. Or I probably later on in 2023 will actually run through this as a lunch and learn session, where each month we'll go through one video where you can, at the end of that, you'll have all the education you need, and you'll be able to go through the metrics, send that off, and then most likely get your yard sign. So we'll just keep moving along here. And with the certification, you guys will get the satisfaction of knowing that you are contributing to protecting a natural resource. And this is the lovely little sign that you get. They do charge for that. It's $15, but it's a really pretty colorful sign, and it's aluminum. So I can say that, you know, it's a nice looking, attractive sign that you can put in your garden. And it definitely makes you feel like you've accomplished something. So I know a lot of folks do already have some certifications in their gardens, and they proudly display those signs. This is just an additional one that you can display. So, you know, I know there are a lot of master gardeners on this particular video virtual series that I'm doing, but there are also some names that I don't recognize. So, not 100% certain what you all do in your yards, but hopefully this will help kind of guide you into thinking that you can do a lot more, and maybe, check out the next phase of being environmentally friendly and helping. Um, so this can help you learn better ways of taking care of the environment, and that might be composting. Um, there's all sorts of different ways that you can compost, and ways of planting your yard plants, things like that, that can help. And a lot of this isn't specifically mentioned, but IPM, integrated pest management, and the ways that that can help kind of limit the amount of pesticides, fertilizers, things like that that are needed by going organic, and or doing a hybrid of that. So the goals of this program is to basically kind of inspire you and educate the folks that are out there in Georgia, not just in Gwinnett County, but all throughout the state, that there are more sustainable landscape practices. I know folks that, have their whole front yard as native flowers, and that's great, but you don't have to do that. A lot of people that live in subdivisions and have HOAs, they know that's definitely not something that they can do. They would get in trouble for that. They'd get nasty grams in the mail. So, but there are some things that you can do within the confines of an HOA or POA that will allow you to definitely help and have your own little oasis. So, you could be simply increasing your habitat for wildlife and pollinators through adding in some new native plants, some shrubs or trees, or additional plants that bloom at all times of the year. So you're adding that additional habitat for pollinators, just kind of educating yourself on what's out there that you can do for the birds, the bees, the other insects and animals that are out there. One of the big problems in suburban and urban areas is the lack of connectivity of natural areas and corridors. And I'm sure we're all familiar with deer, and they come and they munch on our hostas, and some people get really angry. Well, there's other people that feed them, and we kind of dissuade both ends of the spectrum and getting upset because they're eating hostas, and also we dissuade feeding because that increases the natural carrying capacity and makes extra babies that they normally would not be able to have, except you're feeding them. So we try to, here at Extension, we kind of try to espouse a balance, if you will, in living with nature and man together, and having a respect for nature so that you can kind of live in harmony. Another part of this program is we want to kind of educate folks on stormwater and non-point source pollution. I know that doesn't sound very exciting, and maybe it's not, but unfortunately it is a rather nasty part of living in suburbia and urban areas. You have a lot of impervious surface. That's parking lots and roads and driveways and sidewalks, that kind of thing. And here in Georgia, we are both blessed and cursed with lots of pop-up thunderstorms and heavy rains that can cause stormwater runoff and non-point source pollution that can cause problems. So, when we talk about non-point source pollution, some of you may know what that is, some of you may not. There's two types. There's point source pollution and non-point source. Point source is basically when you know where that pollution is coming from. So let's say that you have a creek behind your house, and your neighbor decides that they're going to flush out their swimming pool, and so they release all that chlorinated water out into their backyard, which then runs into that creek, and you have a fish kill because the chlorine is extremely toxic to those fish. That is considered point source. We know exactly where the pollution came from. We can pinpoint that location and address it appropriately. Non-point source would be if you let your dog out into your backyard and they do their business there and you don't clean it up. It would also be when you fertilize the grass and maybe put a little bit too much out there. and then it rains. And all of that stuff, those nutrients, flow into the closest body of water. Sometimes we have a subdivision detention pond, and that catches that first flush of rainwater, and that is able to help it infiltrate. And that's the reason why it's written into the building code that you have to have a detention pond. But that helps catch that first flush and prevent it from getting into the streams and the rivers and lakes. It helps slow things down a little bit so that you don't have that non-point source problem. So through that, you can help increase water quality by removing those nutrients and pollutants, the petroleum products, the things like that that wash off of your driveway and the roads and that kind of stuff. So learning all about that and your ecosystems to figure out how you can help if you have a stream in your backyard, or if you have a detention pond in your neighborhood and you have you know, some people have the thought that some pesticides are good and more are better, or you have the thought that some fertilizer is good, so surely more would be better. But that's not the case. And there's a reason why we tell everyone to kind of follow the label instructions, because a lot of it ends up washing off and into our waterways, which is not good. So anyway, this is an education on stormwater runoff. There is one of those. And learning how to protect and conserve your natural resources. So, you know, you want to work with nature, not against it. So, you know, some people may like to have a lot of really pretty flowers, and that's great, but you're probably spending a lot of money if you're doing annuals every year. And you could maybe put some energy and money into perennials, especially ones that would help the pollinator population. So there's some education in there for that, and learning how to make better choices for what you're going to put into your yard. So the educational components are composting, mulching, pollinator habitat, welcoming wildlife, water conservation, water quality, stormwater, invasive species, native plants, and biodiversity. So that's a lot of really good information. And it's all kind of in, you know, less than an hour's worth of education. And as I mentioned before, you can totally go to the website, and I will, when I'm done here, what I'm going to do is I'll actually go to the website and we'll kind of poke around on there and you can see the videos. So you can go to that website and you can watch all of these videos yourself, and then you can print off that metric and go around in your yard and check mark what you have done. And then if you meet the qualifications, you just sign that, send it over to the Camden County Extension Office. And if you want that sign, include your $15, and they will send you back a really nifty looking little certificate and your sign. And then you can go about, hopefully, educating some of your neighbors when they ask about that sign and say, what is that? Where did you get it? So this is the website, but again, I'll put that in the chat box and we'll go poke around there afterwards. But it's got all sorts of resources on it, and you know, you can learn a lot on there. There's, I mean, obviously there's lots more publications than what you see on that website or even on UGA's publication website. So, you know, the education process is continual. That's why I host these little lunch and learns now, and why we do the 6 to 7 p.m. studies. I mean, we offer all sorts of free classes because we want folks to feel comfortable and to learn stuff. I mean, heck, you know, if you haven't learned your one thing for the day, then, you know, sometimes I think that's a loss. You got to learn something, even if it's, you know, your son's socks are super stinky. So it's important to learn something every day, I think. And as it says on here, the agents and program assistants, we do have access to those PowerPoints. So later on in 2023, as we set up the next grouping of programming dates. I probably will go through if there's interest. And so if you have interest, definitely drop that in the chat box if you would like me to go through these videos so that you can have somebody guide you through them. Definitely drop that in the chat box and let me know. And or you can definitely send me an email. Just respond to the email that I sent out with the link and let me know. And again, all the videos are on their YouTube channel, so you can check it out at any time you want, even at 3 in the morning. And this is what the program metric looks like, or what it basically starts to look like. And I'll show it to you again at the end. So you'll have different topics. So you can see here, topic 1, composting at home, topic 2, mulch. So that list that I showed you a minute or so ago, you'll have different sections on this metric that will correspond to those particular videos. So you basically have this, you pop it up on your laptop or print it off if you're more comfortable with that. And you just kind of start, initialing if you meet that particular criteria. So for instance, here, number 1, under composting at home, I compost yard waste, leaves, grass clippings, branches, and tree trimmings, and you get 4 points for that. So over here, you can put down 4 points. Maybe down here, maybe you don't do weed seed heads or rhizomes or kitchen scraps. Not everybody wants to do that, so you don't get those. And you maybe here, do not compost dairy, meat, bones, pet waste, oils, etc. So that means you're educated on what you do and don't do with composting. So you get 2 points for that. And like I mentioned, they're grouped up by 10 components. So pretty easy to kind of follow along. And it auto calculates, which is really nice. I think I have done this. I did this, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 months ago. And you generally know what you're doing in your own yard. So you don't have to go out in your yard, walk around and double check to make sure that you're doing things. So you basically just sit here on the computer and fill everything in, and it adds it all up for you and tells you if you qualify or not. It's pretty simple. And there's a lot of different actions that you can do. So don't feel like, oh no, now I've got to go through this and I have to make a plan because it's going to be too difficult for me to get the number of points that I need. You need 70 points, which sounds, a little daunting, I guess, but really isn't, because like I pointed out in some of the composting, you can get 4 points for one of the actions, and it doesn't take too many of those before you're already at 70 points. Like, so for instance, on this one, native plants and low maintenance landscapes, number 57. So plant native plants adapted to your climate and natural pests, and you get 4 points for that. I bet you almost all of you have already planted something that will fall into that category. Putting the right plant in the right place. If you have listened to any of the presentations as a master gardener or just through extension in general, we say that all the time: right plant, right place. You want to make sure that it's in the right spot for moisture, for sun, spacing, temperature. Georgia climate can be brutal, and you want to make sure that you understand that, and that if you have, for instance, we'll say a hosta that maybe you moved down from Michigan, and in Michigan, you could put it out in part sun and it would generally do fine. But here in Georgia, it'll probably get burned and scorched because the sun here is much more intense and it's a lot hotter. So understanding the differences in climate and understanding the differences in, sun and spacing, temperature, hardiness zone, that kind of thing, that's all fairly important. And honestly, like I said, a lot of you probably already have that knowledge. It's already there. This is just helping you realize that you have it. So basically, you can see here, you'll need at least 22 actions that are kind of based on the average action score So there's a lot of options here that you can definitely get that. But even if you don't reach all of that just by going through this metric the first time, it helps you plan what you do want to do with your yard. Maybe you just moved here and you're in a brand new house and your backyard is basically just a blank slate and there's nothing there. Well, you might not qualify initially, but you can totally use this metric as a guide for what you want to do and accomplish in that yard. And it can help you, I guess, educate yourself on what you can learn about the yard and the growing conditions here in your new house, or if you're new to the area, it can help with that. And of course, here at Extension, we're always here to help out. And you can totally reach us Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. We're here to answer your questions. And then we're out at a lot of the Gwinnett County events all through the year. And we have a lot of master gardeners that help us out at those events. And so they're there and we're there to answer questions. Probably the biggest, I don't know if it's a question we get, which is, wow, I didn't know you guys existed and I didn't know you were such a resource. I wish I'd known that a long time ago. So, totally spread the word if you find us useful. I know the master gardeners on here don't necessarily need to do that, but I know there are some folks that I don't recognize the names. So hopefully we'll be able to help you going forward. And this is the end of the metric. So you can see here, they give you the address that's down in Camden County. That you put your name, your mailing address, your phone, your email. They don't bother you by calling you. They will email you to let you know that they have received your metric if you sent it through snail mail. And if you sent it through email, that's fine too. Just know that if you send it through email, you'll have to send a separate check if you want the nice little yard sign. But you will get a printed out, really pretty certificate that you can frame if you would like to do that, or put it up on social media and brag that you have a really awesome Georgia Green's landscape stewards yard. And then as with anything else, UGA, they do collect statistics. So they want to know which county you're in. And they, give you the option of a paper, or if you don't want a printed copy, just an electronic copy. And this is what it looks like. It's very pretty. It looks very nice. And just again, to reiterate, you do need the 70 points to get one of these. But again, like I mentioned, don't feel bad if you don't quite meet it. Just use the metric as a guide, doing a few extra new things that you learned about. Maybe you just didn't know you could do those kind of things. Maybe it inspires you to start composting. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. And speaking of composting, we teach virtual classes on that too. We'll have some classes in that coming up, probably summer or fall. So yeah, lots of educational opportunities out here, and don't let it get you down that maybe you don't quite qualify, because you totally will in a very short period of time. So this is Jessica Warren. She's the Camden County A&R agent, and she's the one that came up with this program. She designed it and she implemented it. She's got an awesome lunch and learn program that she does once a month. She'll put all sorts of 1-hour little videos out there. You can find that if you search for Camden County Extension. They have a website just like we do, and you can sign up for her courses. They're good. She's a super nice person, great on camera, so always willing to share her knowledge. But yeah, lots of good educational opportunities. And so that's basically the end of this little presentation, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip over and we're just going to kind of explore the website a little bit. So give me a second. Hopefully I can find it. I have so many things here. There we go. Can everybody see my, give me a thumbs up, or put in the chat box that you can see my screen if it says the Georgia Green Landscape Stewards. Yes. Okay, cool. I have dual screens, so I tried very hard to make sure I close everything and put it all on one screen so that everything is right there. But every so often that doesn't happen. All right. So if you go to a search engine and, Google whatever you want and type in Georgia Green Landscape Stewards, you will get not this website, but you will get the UGA version of the publications website. So it will, let's see if I keep getting the screen sharing thing to pop down. So let's see. There we go. All right. So this is what you'll see. So y'all see that? This is just kind of the standard publications programs that you can see. So it just says visit the website, and then this is the website. So kind of pretty, and gives you basically the same information that I was talking about earlier in the PowerPoint. So you can see here the components: composting, mulching, pollinator habitat, welcoming wildlife, all of that. And click that. So they walk you through the process. So review the educational components, fill out the metric scorecard, and then send your scorecard to Camden County. So over here, this is the webinar. And so that's basically what I just gave you guys. So you don't really need to watch that. But so here are the educational components. And give it a second to load. My internet here is a little lackluster. But you can see, you've got composting at home, and then you've got that video here. So you can you've got all of the videos. So as I mentioned before, if you like to just do self-taught programs, you can come here and watch all of these on your own at 3 in the morning if you would like to do that. And then once you've watched all of these, then go backwards. Then you can come here to the metric scorecard. And you get this, and it pops up. So it's, how many pages? Not 6 pages, 6 pages. But you can see, very, very simple. It will allow you to check mark. So, and it comes down here and auto populates, so 4 points. And you just check mark what you have, right? So talks about mulching. You use a tree's own leaves as mulch. Forming a mulch ring 2 to 3 inches deep to the tree drip line to help compete against grass and other plants for resources. So this is all educational stuff. So all of those videos that you watch, this will walk you through basically everything. So they want you, a lot of these you'll probably already know, but some of them you may not. So once you go through and you learn, maybe you're doing some of them intuitively and you didn't know why you were doing it. It just made sense. And now you're aware and you're like, hey, this makes sense. I knew I was doing this for a reason. So if you're actually doing these things, then you just check the box here and it starts adding up all the things that you're doing at home. So provide a food source with native plants, fruits, seeds, forage, nectar, and pollen. So if you've got a pollinator garden in your backyard, even if it's tiny, I mean, it only may be 10 by 10 or something like that if you're lucky, or maybe it's just a pot on your deck because you live in an apartment and all you can have is a pot on your deck, and you may have like a coneflower in there, or you may have some cosmos or something like that, some other type of pollinator plant, but that's still providing a food source. That still counts. So here's another one. Do not feed wildlife other than birds. Don't feed bread. Make sure that whatever you have in your landscape is providing the necessary nutrients for the birds and the wildlife that are out there. So if you're feeding deer, please stop. It's not advisable. Again, it raises the carrying capacity uh, unnaturally. So when we have a place like Gwinnett, which is getting built out to the point where you can't hunt anymore, and I know a lot of people are on the fence about that, but it does keep the populations in check. And I know most of us would rather see healthy deer, healthy rabbits, healthy foxes, and healthy coyotes, and not sick ones. And when you have too many in a population and you cannot cull that population of the sick ones, and there are no apex predators here, then you end up with animals that start getting sick because there's not enough food for them. So it is important to understand why we don't do those certain things. So, we do make some exceptions for birds, hummingbirds and regular songbirds, things like that, as they migrate through. Cleaning and sanitizing bird and seed feeders regularly. There's a reason we do that. Sanitizing hummingbird feeders, when you start getting that water that ferments, that's not good for them. That can kill them. So making sure you're taking good care of the wildlife that you are attracting to your yard. Let insects live. That's a big one. We try here to tell folks, don't just stomp on them. I mean, they're here for a reason. Even roaches. We're a big proponent of the hurl method, habitat modification, exclusion, that kind of thing. They're there for a reason. So educating yourself on why they're there, and then removing the reasons why they're there, and almost always they will move along. So it's important to know what you're dealing with and why you're dealing with it, and you can modify some things in your habitat. Providing shelter, just kind of going through some of these. Testing your water source for irrigation water quality. So that's, a little impacted, but not terribly impacted. So some of these are going to cost money, like testing your water. We do that here at Extension. It can be a little more costly, but that's okay too. Every so often, if you have a creek in the backyard, there are ways of looking at it visually and telling if it's impacted. I can do that. Not everybody can, so sometimes it gives you peace of mind if you get your water tested, and that's perfectly fine. Rain gardens, reducing impervious surfaces using mulch or stone instead of concrete, preventing soil erosion. And I mean, just all sorts of good stuff. I mean, this is just kind of a little educational bonus here anyway, even as you're check marking everything. But anyway, you can kind of see what that looks like. And then there's also this additional resources for participants section. And you can find, most of you probably have already found us because obviously you're here and you're listening to this little presentation. And then we also have our UGA Urban Agriculture, which some of you may not realize exists. We'll go over here, Center for Urban Ag. They do all sorts of interesting stuff, lots of training. So if you're a landscape professional, or somebody who's a landscape professional, or an arborist, they help train all those folks. They also, any type of school gardens or community gardens, you can find a lot of information here. Pizza Farm, connecting urban youth. Let's see, tools and tactics to enhance integrated pest management. So lots of good education here. Urban forestry, you can get different certifications. So here's improvement for landscapers and nurserymen, safety training. Again, like I mentioned, if you know anybody in the green industry, they probably already know about the Center for Urban Ag, but again, lots of good information here. Totally recommend poking around over here. You know, events. Oops. Register for events. That must be down. Been trying to get a hold of some folks over in the Northwest District today, and their phones are down. So I think they're having some issues. Anyway, so back to the landscape stewards page. There's native plants of North Georgia. Here's a photo guide. So you could print this off if you wanted to. You know, maybe you're going to go on a walk in the woods. So you can print this off and laminate it if you wanted to. This is a Georgia Sea Grant, UGA Marine. Maybe you're going down to the coast. So lots and lots of good educational materials here that you can take a look at. And here's the pollinator census. I know a lot of you already participate in the pollinator census. Thank you, thank you. We try to grow it every year. This year, we've introduced the Carolinas to our group. So I know Becky Griffin hopes to grow that program every year, and someday maybe it'll be countrywide. That would be kind of cool, wouldn't it? But in the meantime, you know, here at home, doing what you can with your school kids or garden groups, families, that kind of stuff. And then, you know, some more information on stormwater management, integrated pest management, and master naturalist program that certain counties will have. And then here's some state initiatives: Georgia Native Plant Society, Master Gardener Association, if you're interested, Adopt a Stream, Coastal Wildscapes, all sorts of stuff. Tennessee, Florida, Clemson, you know, all sorts of fun stuff like that. So, all right, I'm going to stop sharing and we'll take questions if anybody has questions. So it's not a full hour today, but you know, hopefully it gave you some interesting information and maybe got you excited to try out this program. All right, let's see. Would culture and small scale vermiculture count for composting? I would say pull up the metric and take a look at it. Probably. There's different ways of composting. I mean, I'll be teaching a class on vermicomposting in January 24th. So, you know, there's all sorts of different ways that you can compost. I would think it would count, but definitely check the metric just to make sure. You're welcome. Anybody else? And you can unmute yourself. I mean, we have 20 minutes basically. I don't think I'll run the entire hour. So if anybody has any questions, you can unmute yourself if you want to do that.
Lisa?
Yes.
What's a good resource for controlling runoff in your backyard?
Resource in what regard?
How to correct it, how to stop it, how to rescue your yard after it's washed already?
So we can help here. We can give you ideas of things that you can do, either with hardscapes or diversions, French drains, things like that. If you have erosion problems in your yard, you can do a lot through landscaping and without having to spend. It really depends a lot on what the problem is. Sometimes simple plantings and rain gardens, things of that nature can really help with both diverting rain flow and piping it away or helping it to slow down and infiltrate. There's a lot of different things that you can do. None of them are going to be super simple. they're probably going to require a lot of labor on the homeowner's part. But there are things that you can do and ways that you can both improve the appearance of the area in question and slow the water down and help it infiltrate versus running off site and causing problems on somebody else's property or continuing to cause problems on your property. But I would say if you have a specific problem, reaching out to us with some pictures so we can kind of take a look at it and help you maybe come up with some solutions. If it's a really bad problem, you're probably going to have to involve private industry in some way to kind of help. Some landscapers will do French drains. I mean, it's not cheap, but it will help with the piping of the water. So I'd say reach out to us as a resource and we can help direct you in the correct spot to look for what you need.
Okay, thanks.
Someone has asked and said they missed the first part, and it is being recorded and it is on our Metro Master Gardener YouTube channel. So I will type that. So if you search for that in YouTube, or you can just email me and I'll send a link to you. I say subscribe. I try to record every presentation and it all goes there. So you can access it at 3 in the morning if you want to and learn about whatever it is. Are there any other questions? Are we all going to go hop
Yes,
on and what's that?
I have a question. I
Yeah.
have a question. I have a different release ID.
Your connection's not really good, so you're cutting out. And I'm only hearing kind of broken up electronic words. Maybe try typing it in the chat box.
Do you identify the trees or shrubs on my property?
Yes, we can help you identify them. We tell you to take pictures. So you take a wide shot and then a close-up shot, usually of some type of an identifying characteristic like the leaf or a flower. And then you can email us and we have a general, I'm sure everybody's already got the page. So you can either take those pictures and we have a general office email. You can just send those pictures with the subject line, can you please help me ID this particular plant and or whatever the problem is. And then that usually filters to me or one of my colleagues, and then we'll help you from there. I'm trying to change the verbiage on the website so that there's more detail about what we need. A lot of times folks will just email us and say, hey, I'm having a disease problem with this particular tree. What do you think it is? But we need pictures to look at and try to figure out what it is. So without pictures, it's just a guess, and we don't like to guess. Again, the whole point of extension being attached to UGA and a university is a good research-based information, and we need something to look at. And since we really can't do on-site visits anymore, there's just too many people in the county, not enough of us. The easiest way for us to do that is to see pictures. And so if we have some to look at, we can speed the process along. Otherwise, we have to respond and say, hey, can you send us some pictures so that we have something to look at? This is kind of what we're looking for. So I'm trying to tweak that verbiage a little bit so folks that go to the website can see what we're looking for ahead of time. Any other questions? And it can be about anything extension related also. It doesn't have to be necessarily about this program. You can pick my brain. Nothing? Okay. Well, if let me see here, I might be able to give you the YouTube channel. I can see if I can get the link here. Share. link. Chat. There's our YouTube. I just put that in the chat. So you can just subscribe to it if you want to. That way you find it really easily. And if you have not just questions, but particular subjects that you want more information on that you would like to see as a presentation, then you can definitely put that in the chat box or email me later. Totally up for getting new stuff out there and working on a couple completely new presentations of interesting things like zombie insects. Thanks, Shirley. Vermicomposting, some new topics that haven't really been covered here before. So if you have something that you want to learn more about, that's what I'm here for, to learn more about things and then turn around and present that to the masses so that they can learn about it too. We'll also have a new presentation coming up sometime this spring on new and different interesting fruits and vegetables that maybe you didn't know about. Gwinnett County is probably, I think it's the third largest multicultural county in the entire US. So we have folks from all over the place and we get requests all the time. Where can I find this particular vegetable? Will this grow here? What can I use to use this particular fruit for? That kind of thing. So we're going to talk about those different fruits and vegetables that will grow here. We do grow a lot of things in Zone 7B that grow over in Japan and parts of China and down into northern Vietnam and parts of, basically Asia. So a lot of stuff that grows over there will grow over here. So, we have to be careful because we can tend to get a little invasive on certain things because we have a higher humidity level and a higher moisture level. So we have to be careful about sourcing and growing things, but yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff here that are interesting fruits and vegetables that most people probably don't know about if you've lived here your whole life that might be interesting and fun to grow. Chris is wondering when the fruit presentation will be available. We're still working on it. So I would imagine it'll be next, probably early summer, late spring, early summer. I already have a bunch of stuff that's kind of on the schedule. So it's when I get time. Let's see, already have someone. Okay, Monica, yeah, just, reach out to me if you've got should have my email address. So you can reach out to me via email and we can chat about that. And again, anybody can call, and if I'm here, I will pick up the phone and I will answer your questions, or you can email me. We're here for pretty much any kind of information. And for those of you who are wondering when the interview will be, I just got a call this morning. So there you go. But that's basically all I've got, folks. So unless somebody else has a question for me or, wants to chit chat, that's basically the lunch and learn. So I'll turn you loose. You got 10 minutes left so you can go eat your hamburger. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.